Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dota Radio. It's been a while since we spoke officially here on Dota Radio. Our audio-only stream is back. We're back in the swing of things, and we've got the Dota 2 Champions League coming at you live. This is day number 1, and we've got Navi versus Liquid to start things off. I'm Zyori. Joining me once again is Mr. Hippie. Hippie, my friend, it's been at least a week since we've chatted on stream. How you feeling, pal?
I'm feeling good. I'm no longer going to have to be stressed out trying to catch every little thing around the map. That's all on you now. I just get to sit here and make snide comments about how I understand mechanics. It's basically my job.
Yep, exactly right. So this is going to be a good matchup here, though. Navi versus Liquid, and unfortunately for us, we haven't seen too much of Liquid sort of post-TI3 because we were focused on Star Ladder Season 7, and Team Liquid was not a part of that. So I'll be honest, I'm not quite as familiar with what Team Liquid is going to do here in terms of draft because they just haven't been on our radar. I know they've been active in We Play, and if I recall, they've been performing quite well and shouldn't give Navi at least a run for their money here in this first match.
Yeah, their new roster is quite strong. I think picking up Koikva did a whole lot for them. He is an excellent, excellent player. I mean, he's the guy who carried Mouse whenever Black couldn't. Like, you know, you talk about Black being a really excellent carry, and he is. But Koikva did so much work on that team. His offlane lifestealer was insane when he played for Mouse. Yeah. He was one of the only people who actually ran that lane and did it successfully.
Yeah.
But Liquid was also one of... We saw, I believe it was 4FC, were doing the D2CL Naga thing. Liquid was doing it at the same time. They were another one of the pioneers of that kind of strength of the Medusa. And they really, really wrecked some people with it. I think it was Alliance, actually. They just took them to town, destroyed them completely. So, yeah, they're playing very, very well.
Yeah, so it should be a good matchup. Nonetheless, here, Navi going to start us off with a ban on the... well, actually, Team Liquid going to start us off with a ban on the Naga, and they're going to take out Wisp second here, and Navi going to ban out that Troll Warlord and then the Outworld Devourer to follow it up. So it's an interesting change of pace here with some of those bans. Obviously, Bat Rider going to make it through, and we'll see if Team Liquid wants to first snag the dreaded Bat Rider.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I don't think it's going to be Bat Rider. I think it's going to be Elder Titan, but so I was wrong.
So yes, indeed, Navi going to go ahead and first pick the Elder Titan and grab that Lifestealer there to go second. So E.T., I guess he's a hero that needs a bit of introduction here. I mean, I don't know when that turning point was. We knew he was popular in the Chinese scene, but now everyone's just recognized the true power of the Elder Titan, setting up for those huge AoE ultimates with that natural order. He just brings so much to the table. The long-range harass from Astral Spirit, he's just so powerful in that offlane, man. He's like the new generation Darkseer almost.
And actually, he really hit a turning point, I feel like, during Star Ladder Finals. A lot of teams started first banning him. Alliance banned him out unless they were planning on picking him pretty much every time. When they did let him through, I think they generally lost. And he's been run everywhere now. He's been running the offlane, he's been running mid, and Navi actually likes running him support on Kuro. And they do really, really well with it. Yeah, it works. I mean, the harass you get from the Spirit, the damage you get, plus, of course, the aura and a tri-lane means there's just that many people taking advantage of it. He's become very, very effective in a whole lot of positions, and that really, in my mind, is what makes a very strong pick, is someone who's not only very, very strong in the mid-game or the late game, like wherever you want them to actually have their impact, but someone who has a very versatile and successful laning phase.
Yeah, exactly right, and Visage going to be that second pick for Team Liquid. And I have to admit, man, we should have put off looking at those patch notes before, or until after this game is completed, because honestly, in my head I'm thinking like, oh man, Bat Rider's base damage. Oh wait, that didn't happen yet. Fuck. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around reality from dreams at this point. So Visage and Bat Rider still immensely powerful. I think they're going to get beat upside the head with the nerf stick in the upcoming patch here, the 6.79. But Visage and Bat Rider still very powerful. The tankiness ensues. So both teams with pretty well-rounded rosters to start things off here.
Yeah, I mean, Navi, probably the only team that still puts a lot of focus on getting Lifestealer, but that's because Havost is probably... I would say it's pretty uncontested that he's the best Lifestealer player in the world right now.
Right.
I mean, you can say there are people who may be somewhat better carry players than Havost, even though he's definitely one of the best, but I don't think anyone comes close to his Lifestealer. It's so powerful that teams like Alliance will actually respect ban it out in the first phase. So it's never a shock to me when they pick that up, even into a Bat Rider.
Yeah.
You know, Bat Rider may have some decent ways of dealing with Lifestealer, but at the same time, it's Havost. He always somehow manages to just put in so much more work on that hero than anyone else does.
Right, and those top-tier teams, I mean, we've seen it in the past with the Navis, the Alliances. It's not that their strategies are that unpredictable. The problem is just how do you stop them? You know what they're going to do. It's not a matter of surprise. It's a matter of how do you stop Havost from getting out of control on Lifestealer, and I don't know that there's a good answer to that question because he tends to get out of control in pretty much every game I've seen. Liquid going to go ahead and ban out the offlaners here. Bounty Hunter and Darkseer are going to be their 3rd and 4th bans. Navi did a 3rd ban on the Weaver, and it's going to get kicked over to them for their 4th ban coming out. So Team Liquid obviously trying to limit some of those off-lane choices, and I think credit to you, sir, probably an indication that Kuro will indeed be supporting on that Elder Titan.
It could be Dendi, but I mean, it's, you know, they don't. And actually, I don't know if that is Funnick or if it's actually a stand-in, but we do notice that their offlaner is tagged as Ratstar.
I believe it's Funnick. I looked at the profile before we started, although he wasn't listed as Ratstar, so I don't know. I'm about 90% sure it's Funnick.
I wouldn't expect Navi to have a stand-in on the first day of their organization's tournament.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a
they
good
want
point.
to show up with their full roster.
It is a Navi Virtus Pro tournament, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think banning out the offlaners is exceptionally useful, especially the Darkseer, because if you have any sort of good AoE, Darkseer plus Elder Titan becomes really, really hard to deal with.
Yeah, that's true.
And if they got like a Darkseer and a Jakiro, a Darkseer and a Puck, and you know they're going to be going for like a Puck or a Quap or a Storm Spirit.
Yeah.
There's Timbersaw, actually.
Yeah,
Timbersaw works.
Yep, he's going to work as that 3rd pick for Navi to go with their Lifestealer and Elder Titan. But I want to talk about the 4th ban from Navi a little bit. They actually took Ursa out of the pool, which is a little bit interesting because Wisp has been banned out, and we almost exclusively see Ursa in situations where he's paired with Wisp. Any insight about that, Hippie?
I think it's because he's one of the only heroes who can man-fight Lifestealer and win. Just outright. Nobody beats Ursa in a man fight unless he's getting locked down. Just because of the way Fury Swipes works, because of how fast he can start putting that on you. And I mean, maybe Navi, maybe they've seen Liquid do it. I, too, haven't been following Liquid super closely. I've been trying to keep up, but again, I've been following Starladder mostly, as y'all might know.
Samesies.
But, yeah, I mean, the Ursa in particular can be very effective at dealing with a Lifestealer if they can get him on top of him. And with a Batrider grabbing him as well, maybe they're just afraid that if Batrider lassos Lifestealer and they don't immediately control something like an Ursa, Lifestealer would just die before he gets to have any impact.
That's a good point. It makes a lot of sense when you break it down that way, just not something we're accustomed to seeing in the banning picking phase here, at least not myself. It's amazing how quickly things change in Dota, though. You know, you take 7 days off and only catch a couple streams here and there, and I feel totally out of my element. Like, I don't know what's happening in the meta. Elder Titan's getting picked up. Batrider's getting through. Oh, chaos ensuing. But Bane going to be the 3rd pick for Visage, to go with Visage and Batrider for Team Liquid. And Crystal Maiden going to be that 4th pick for Navi to go with their Timbersaw, Lifestealer, and Elder Titan. Shen still on the board, so I kind of like that Crystal Maiden pickup here as, a nice aggressive support, but also sort of a discouraging force in terms of a Chen pickup if Liquid was interested in going that route. Though they may not be, given their Bane and Visage. I should have looked before I spoke, Hippie.
I mean, you can theoretically... It's never really done anymore. Bane is not impossible to run in the middle lane, and he's in fact very, very good at it if it remains a 1v1. If he doesn't get ganked, Bane is insanely good in mid lane. But the problem is that, I mean, he's one of the heroes who really fell off as a mid laner after smoke rotations to mid became much, much, much more common. And so he just wasn't used anymore because he's so easy to pick off in any sort of asymmetrical situation.
Yep. So Team Liquid here going to break into their last bit of remaining reserve time. About 3 seconds left with their 4th pick, and we'll see what they want to grab. It's going to be the Viper. All right, so going to be a Viper mid to go with the Bane, Visage, and Batrider. Probably going to be that off-lane Batrider / sacked lane and move him into the jungle. So obviously going to want sort of a carry there for the last pick to go with their double supports. But a Viper, another pick that we've sort of seen at an increasing frequency to varying success. We've seen him get shut down. We were just talking about Bane mid. I mean, Viper has some of the same problems where he's so susceptible to those ganks early on. And against a Crystal Maiden, I get a little nervous. You know, she's just a great force to try and deal with a less mobile mid hero like Viper.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely is. He has to be careful. As long as the warding is kind of defensive from Liquid, they might be okay. I think the main thing is that means that they're predicting that this is going to be a Timbersaw in the mid lane.
Yeah. Because
Viper does better. Oh, no, because they ban out Puck. So, I don't know. Invoker!
Whoa. All right.
Wow, I'm excited. I love that hero. He's one of my absolute favorite heroes ever since I started playing Dota 2. He was one of the heroes that pulled me back into Dota 2 from other games. It's like,
Yep.
this hero is so cool, and I love every little aspect of him. This is going to be a blast. Dendy's Invoker is so much fun. He's not
Oh, yeah.
Ice, 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 I don't think, but he's really freaking fun.
Yep. Well, we've all seen that clip of Dendy's insane invoker of, I think it's from DreamHack that one year, where he's just in WTF mode, just spamming all the abilities. It's like, oh my god, my brain can't even process how quickly you're executing that invoker rotation. Alchemist, they're going to be the final pick for Team Liquid. That's a nice rounded pick to go with that tri-lane. So it should be a hell of a matchup indeed. It looks like it'll be an off-lane Timbersaw and I guess a support Elder Titan to go with the Lifestealer and Crystal Maiden. Mid-invoker up against the Bat Rider, Visage, Bane, Viper, and Alchemist of Team Liquid. Again, probably going to be that off-lane jungle Bat Rider, solo mid Viper, and then this nice tri-lane there with Visage, Bane, and Alchemist. So a best of one today, but based on these picks, man, I don't think we can be too disappointed about what we're about to see.
No, absolutely not. I mean, best of ones are interesting because teams know anything can happen, and I feel like they're willing to throw out some slightly more unorthodox strats because they know it's not like they immediately get countered out in round two, so they can, they can take the risk to an extent. And also, you're not going down in like a big series where, oh crap, if you lose this series, you're out or something like that. They can afford to drop like one game trying out some new strategies, and then just, if it doesn't work, if it works, great, you're up a game. If it doesn't work, it's unfortunate, but you have some time to recover throughout the rest of the league.
Yep, that's absolutely right. So we are going to go straight into a pause here, folks, and once we see exactly how these lanes are going to settle down, though fairly predictable they may be, we will introduce our rosters. And I have to admit, I've got a killer sinus infection, so I'm not quite at 100% today. Just an FYI, personal disclaimer, I feel like I got smacked in the face with a shovel, and my forehead is just pulsing. So, Hippie, you got to pick up the slack today, my man. I may toss it over to you a little bit more often than usual.
Not a problem. I'm always happy to make little nuanced points. Like I said, it's pretty much my favorite thing ever. So we are going to have a support Titan. I was right, haha.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And well, that's one of the great things about that hero is he is so versatile. I mean, with Navi, you hit that right on the head. Kuroki going to be playing the ET, but what's one of the things that makes him a great first pick, aside from his immense power, that you can sort of call those audibles at the line of scrimmage, so to speak, for you football fans out there, and put him in the off lane, put him in mid, and he can really hold his own just about anywhere. But alas, we are going to resume, and we're going to get right into it. I'm just going to double check and make sure Rat Star actually is Funnick, just for good measure here. I believe it is. Yeah, that's going to be him. Funnick always loves to go with those silly names. It's like one of his hobbies.
Yeah, he's a silly dude. Although you'd think that, a lot of major tournaments have rules that people need to play under their under their standard name.
So look at this. Already Timbersaw is smoked up down here in the bottom lane. That's sort of an interesting opening here from speaking of the devil Funnick.
Yeah, I mean, the idea being that he wants to be able to safely kind of walk over towards the trees right here. Maybe he wants to cut himself his way in and just hide there. He wants to smoke up, make sure he doesn't get spotted by a ward, and know that if there are heroes in front of him that he might be about to walk into, so he can hide here. It's actually something that he's been doing a little bit. You also can do it on Bat Rider, but you can see where he's hiding right there in the side. He's in XP range from where the creeps are going to meet, right in the lane. And, I mean, if Liquid have been really paying attention to Navi's games, they might know about this when they don't see Funnick in lane, because it's not something that's uncommon for him to do, and it is something that's very, very punishable, unlike, his ancient farming that he does on heroes like Mirana and Windrunner, where he just cuts a tree and farms ancients. He could really, really get punished for this positioning if he's not careful, especially because he's gone first point reactive instead of holding that point to see what he actually needs.
Yeah,
which I think is a poor choice.
A little bit of a gamble is probably the right word. So, all right, let's introduce our rosters here. In the bottom lane here on our dire side of the map is going to be Navi. In the bottom will be Funnick playing on the Timbersaw. He's hidden in the trees right now. Kuroki going to be on the Elder Titan, who will be roaming about right now, stationed right around that bottom rune, but probably will make his way towards that top lane. In the mid, going to be Dendy on the Invoker. Going to be playing solo heads up against Bulba on the Alchemist, and that means up in the top lane, sort of a pseudo try. We'll have Havost on the Lifestealer, of course, and Puppy going to be playing on the Crystal Maiden, though it looks like Havost going to have absolute free farm to start things off, and I'm sure he's quite excited about that. On our Radiant side, we do have Team Liquid. In the mid is going to be the solo Alchemist being played by Bulba. In the jungle, going to have, how do you pronounce this guy's name again? I call him Quap.
Quackfa?
Quapfa? I'll probably just call him Koipfa. Oh, Jesus. Bat Rider going to be in the jungle here doing that dirty Bat Rider work in the easy and hard camp. We are going to have Fluff and Stuff playing on the Visage down here in the bottom lane as well, in sort of a pseudo-tri lane. Way Too Sexy going to be on the Bane, and it's going to be TC on the Viper. So I was mistaken in that picking phase. It's actually going to be a tri-lane Viper and a solo mid Alchemist, which is sort of the opposite of what I would have expected. But Timbersaw going to get skedded out in the trees here. He is now level 2, going to be able to grab that first point into the Timber Chain. It is a 3v1 though. He's going to be in a little bit of trouble. He's going to get slowed. They're going to start chipping away. Timber Chain going to be used once again, and he's going to make it out with about 300 hit points to spare. So he did grab that level 2 after hiding in the trees, but now he is going to get boxed out of this lane, I think, for the most part, in a 3v1 scenario.
It does mean he has both the skills he needs to play defensively, though. So, I mean, it's not like he can't get in lane because he doesn't have the regen, because he's got the reactive armor pickup, and he's got the Timber Chain to get away, and they don't have stuns in this lane. I mean, they have the Bane Nightmare, which is the best they can try to land, but they pretty much have to get it mid-Timber Chain or it's not worth it.
Right.
And even then, you have to be able to pull the fucking Nightmare off so quickly that it becomes something that, you know, it's not as effective in killing him, and he should be fine.
Yep. That's true. And right now, again, Havos just free farming up in the top lane. Puppy on the CM is just stacking and pulling and making his life a little bit easier. And we see Kuroki just being very aggressive. He did grab the 2-minute rune. Is going to be a haste. He's actually going to move into the jungle. And he's doing a lot of damage to Fluff and Stuff on that Visage. Going to get him down to about half health. And he's actually going to interrupt Bat Rider's farm a little bit. And might be able to grab a couple of the easy camp kills. But at the very least is going to make Bat Rider's life a little bit more difficult. He's going to have to head back to the well. Still only level 1. Just sitting on Grey Boots. He is out of regen as Kuroki does clean up the easy camp here. Fluff and Stuff still nearby. The level 1s just having a field day here in the jungle, chipping away at one another. We're going to see a little more harassment come out from Visage, but neither side really going to be able to secure a kill quite too easily. One of the things about having that roaming Elder Titan is he is damn tanky. Level 1, he's got 640 hit points with only 2 GG branches. So Kuroki can afford to be a little bit aggressive here, take a bit of damage just because he's a tank this early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Elder Titan, very, very hard hero to bring down. He gets the move speed bonus from recalling the spirit, which is very, very significant, and that's static at all levels. So it's not like he has to get levels before he has his, you know, sort of pseudo-escape mechanism going on. I think the biggest thing that he managed to do right there, I mean, yeah, he harassed out of the jungle, he put some pressure on, he got a sentry on that big camp. So Bat Rider won't be able to stack it up anymore. He's going to have a much, much more difficult time getting all of his farm as quickly. Because look at him, he doesn't realize the sentry's there. He's waiting to get the next stack off.
Yeah, that's true. The timing was uncanny because there is a double stack here already. There's a Centaur camp as well as a Dark Troll Summoner camp. And like you said, he's waiting for that next spawn. And if he's not paying close attention, he may not realize if he walks away and tries to go to the easy camp. But we're going to see Funnick perhaps in a little bit of trouble here. Bane as well as Visage going to be chasing him down. Kuroki going to come in. The Astral Spirit going to come to harass. Bane going to go ahead and use the Brain Sap for a little bit of damage. And that will force Kuroki back. So both sides just exchanging last hits. And, well, again, neither going to be able to secure a kill. Really sort of a lack of stun and disable on both sides, certainly from the supports, and now Funnick can get chased back to that tier 1 down in the bottom. Again, rinse and repeat. Kuroki now going to throw the Astral Spirit and continue to harass. But one big difference here is this top lane, Havost and Puppy already pressuring that tier 1 tower. The glyph is actually going to be used to try and delay their push a little bit. And still Navi, you know, able to defend this tier 1 down in the bottom with no trouble. Finally, Liquid going to press up and get closer to it. But Havost, I mean, he's having a good time. Keeping even in farm with the Viper, both of them right around 31 creep kills apiece. But I don't know. All things equal, what are you more scared of? The free farming Viper or that free farming Lifestealer?
Definitely the Lifestealer. We do have to consider that that Bulba can get a decent amount of farm. He hasn't gone greed though, so he's not going to be farming as fast as a traditional carry alchemist. He's definitely gone a very aggressive concoction focused build with secondary acid spray. Yep. I think another big deal is Havost just got a 4.5 minute Midas that he's starting to go off with. So that's about a minute faster than average. I think the average is about 5.5 minutes in professional games, which made me really sad about my own Midas timings when I heard that stat.
Yeah, fair enough. But you're right. I mean, that super fast Midas. And we usually talk about how when you go that early economic investment, it can hold you back from sort of a mid-game timing. But in a total free farm environment, that window is so small that, you know, within another 5, 6, 7 minutes, Havost is going to be a little bit scary. He'll have those phase boots, presumably going to be going for an early armlet, and he'll be able to move around. He'll be able to do some damage and have that survivability and be, a scary force to take team fights really at all stages of the match. So that is one thing to keep in mind of. And I totally agree. The free farming Viper, Lifestealer is not quite as scary, but he is now level 6, so that will allow them to perhaps have a bit more kill potential on this Timbersaw, though he's still a difficult hero to lock down. Right now his build is 2-1-2, 2 points Whirling Death, 1 in the Timber Chain, and 2 in the Reactive Armor. So that escape mechanism, not quite as potent as it will be later on, but still level 1 Timber Chain, generally sufficient to get away. It's still just, I can't get over the Timbersaw and how strong he is indeed. And here at the 6-minute mark, still 0-0, Navi versus Liquid. A slow game to get things going. Both sides seem pretty comfortable just farming away, and with that, Funnick actually almost going down to about 70 hit points or so thanks to that Viper nuke, but he does make it back safe and sound. Compliments of the Timber Chain.
Yeah, those 3 points in Nether Toxin really almost got him picked off. You had Viper swinging for, 130, 150 damage with those last couple of hits from all that bonus damage that started stacking up. It was really brutal. So he did, in fact, almost go down, but not quite. And their top tower is going to fall to Puppey on the Crystal Maiden specifically. But, I mean, just going back very quickly to the early economic investment, I think part of the reason, not only is Lifestealer a harder hero to punish than a lot of other traditional Midas heroes, because he has a lot of good early and mid-game survivability, with the Infest, with the Feast to get himself back up to good health, with the Rage, of course, for the magic community. The other thing is that Navi has a really great mid-game space-creating team. Their Invoker is doing well in the middle, so it's not like he's going to get punished and not be able to have a lot of kind of mid-game impact. He's going to be able to do quite well. They have the Timbersaw, who of course has huge mid-game damage output. He's getting his levels. That's what he really needs. And then they have the Elder Titan and the Crystal Maiden, who are both very powerful heroes. Crystal Maiden, good AoE, and is strictly like an early mid-game hero. She has some level of impact in the late game, but the more BKBs come up, the more people shrug off her nuke damage, the less effective she becomes. Right. But the Elder Titan, of course, is going to make her, and of course the Invoker, all the much more potent with that Natural Order aura. So I think in the mid-game, they're still very strong, even if Lifestealer falls back and farms a little bit, but he's already got his phase boots on top of that Midas.
Exactly. I mean, we're here at 20 seconds shy of the 8-minute mark, already Lifestealer leading the way on the net worth chart at right around 3.9k, Viper number 2 on that chart at about 3.1k, so the Midas starting to kick in, and also that tower disparity, as we mentioned. Puppey did take out that tier 1 in the top lane, so Lifestealer, he's sort of off to the races, and he's off to a good start. One of the things to sort of remember, though, there is a slight carry advantage for Liquid, I think, between the Viper as well as the Alchemist. There's really only one hard carry on Navi, and Liquid sort of have two, so to speak. So there will hit that point where Lifestealer may fall off a little bit, especially with the lasso. They have plenty of crowd controls to try and deal with that Lifestealer. So for Navi, that positioning going to be a little bit more important. But again, having that Timbersaw, we always look for what can you pair that Lifestealer with? Some sort of Infest initiation combo, Nature's Prophet Puck, and Timbersaw can play that role with that Timber Chain. And we've seen many a time that can be a scary duo to deal with. So they do have some of that initiation power, I think, to try and keep their Lifestealer safe. But in that mid to late game, that will of course be the name of the game. How safe can Havost be to put out all that damage? And if things keep up, I think there's going to be a great timing for Navi, where Havost is just going to be more farmed than really either the Viper or Alchemist based on that net worth chart already. I mean, he's already almost doubling the Alchemist, who's at about 2.5k on net worth, and he's up to now 4.6k. And again, because of that more early game oriented build, now level 8, still 0 points in Grievel's Greed. But we're going to see initiation onto the Elder Titan. Looks like we could see a first blood. Indeed we will. It's going to go in favor of Liquid. That's going to be an Elder Titan getting picked off in the jungle. Kuroki just venturing too far forward, stumbles into several members of Liquid, and ends up being a pretty easy kill there. Bane going to grab that bit of bonus gold.
Yeah, anytime you're relying largely on your movement speed to get you out of things, and for him I mentioned the movement speed buff is his best escape mechanism. A hero like Viper, who has infinite slows, and then Visage, who of course has a really good slow. Slows are the bane of your existence if move speed is one of your primary factors. I mean, it seems like a simple thing, but it's something a lot of people don't think about, is that the more you're relying on your movement ability, the more critical it is to not get slowed and to avoid getting slowed. So someone like Lifestealer as well is very vulnerable to slows, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest deals in the mid game, is how effectively can they kite out that Lifestealer using the Viper Strike, since that slow will go right through Rage.
Right.
That's going to be a big deal to see how well that works.
That's a good point. And earlier on I was really crediting Kuroki doing a great job slowing down this Batrider, and he did get that initial ward down, which helped. But now Batrider's really in great shape. He is now level 6, almost level 7, on nothing but the brown boots of speed right now, but does have about just enough for that Blink Dagger. He is at 2.1k, and with a little bit of that static gold gain, he is going to be able to grab it in just a couple of seconds. So that's a nice early Blink Dagger here at the 10.5 minute mark, and that's going to open up a bit more aggression for Liquid here at this point, and that's something that Navi is going to have to deal with when you don't pressure the Batrider and give him absolute free farm. you know, he can get scary. These are situations where Batrider could really take off and have a huge impact in this mid game, and maybe allow a little bit of farming room for that Alchemist to catch up a bit on the net worth chart.
You would hope so, but he's definitely going for a much more mid-gamey build. He's only gotten his first point into greed now. I mean, initiation on a Dendi with that lasso.
Yep, there it is. Going to use that blink right away. Dendi, level 9 on the Invoker. Going to take an unstable concoction. He's going to fall. That's going to be an easy kill in way of Liquid. Now going to be 2-0 as we approach that 11-minute mark. Bane actually going to be able to grab that second kill of the match. That will make Bane 2-0-0 here. Visage 0-0-2 as Liquid start to get a bit more aggressive. But that's that timing I was talking about. You grab that blink dagger. It's essentially a free kill as long as you can execute. And good timing to shut down Dendi as well on the Invoker, just now picking up his hand of Midas. So, a good time to try and shut down that mid-hero that was farming quite well. He actually started to overtake the Alchemist a little bit. So, well done by Liquid.
Yeah, and it's not on the Invoker. I feel like the Midas it's somewhat about the gold. It's definitely good for him to get extra items, but what he's really looking to do is go and start stacking up bonus experience with it, because Invoker is someone who can kind of semi-carry and almost even carry, assuming he gets a lot of levels. But bottom lane onto Viper. It looks like TC sees this coming though.
Yep, exactly right. Puppy's going to be down here on the CM. He does have the surprise inside. Dendi going to venture his way down. Now Bulba going to port in on the Alchemist. Alchemist going to get crowd controlled. Looks like he's going to fall. Down he goes. That's going to make it 1-2 here at the 12-minute mark. The engage isn't over yet though. Bane going to stand his ground. He is going to set up a kill onto the Crystal Maiden, but he is going to fall. Lifestealer going to be able to grab a double kill. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Navi. It's not over yet though. Havos going to go in too far. He's going to get taken out. Visage going to grab that last hit. Now TC on the Viper going to be in a little bit of trouble. He is level 11. Going to try and finish off Dendi. Not going to be able to do it. The Ghost Walk going to come out. And now TC going to be... Oh, he has the Shadow Amulet. Oh, well played by TC. Going to be able to go invisible. That's going to keep him alive. Batrider going to come in. He'll blink forward. Going to be able to get the lasso off on Dendi. TC going to break out of the invis, and he's going to be able to set up that kill. Now Kuroki going to fall as well. Beautifully played by that Viper right now. That Shadow Amulet use right there. Uncanny. As Liquid do come out ahead now 6-2 here at the 12.5-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, that was not at all what Navi expected. And I think as soon as Havos went down, they probably should have started to back out. They knew the Visage was coming in with full life. They knew that the Viper was still present. And maybe they didn't notice the Shadow Amulet. And that was really, really clutch by TC. I completely agree with you. I mean, he was totally dead. He had Dendi ready to throw some sort of spell to lock him down. Like, if he needed a cold snap, if he needed some kind of slow, he could have gotten it out there. He had plenty of spells that were available to him. And he had the Ghost Walk slowing him down as well, so he couldn't probably get away from that Elder Titan and just Shadow Amulet sit there. I don't think they really quite noticed what was going on. They definitely didn't know he had the Shadow Amulet because they didn't have any dust.
Yep.
And then the dust catch onto Dendi was really big as well, giving him his second death of the game in a very short amount of time.
Absolutely, and what was really huge about that fight, Viper basically went from 0-0-0 to 3-0-2, so that's going to be a huge boost there for Team Liquid, where Viper, who had been doing okay just farming, now is going to have a nice advantage on the net worth chart, and he's now trailing by just about 1,000 under Havos, who was also taken out in that fight, and the Hand of Midas difference, Havos should probably still be ahead, but that's a nice pick-me-up there for the Viper, no doubt. It looks like we could see some action heat up here in the mid lane. All 5 members of Liquid going to press forward. Navi with quite a few forces as well. I think they've got 4. Batrider going to blink in, though. He's going to lasso onto Dendi. Firefly's active. Dendi going to take a good bit of damage. There is going to be a stun to come out his way. The flame break as well. He is going to invis out. I don't know it's going to be enough to survive. He has the double damage rune on. Not going to be able to make it happen. Elder Titan also going to get picked off in the mix. That's going to be a 2-for-0 exchange in favor of Liquid. Now 8-2 here at the 14-minute mark. Glancing at that gold graph, Navi actually still with a slight gold lead. Probably going to dip down to about 1,500 or so, with that experience graph starting to shift in favor of Liquid. So Navi have been finding better farm about the map, but Liquid really hitting this mid-game timing here and starting to pick up some momentum early on in this match.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is exactly the kind of thing because you were talking about, oh, Navi has this really great mid-game timing. You're completely right. I mean, they have very, very powerful mid-game and all initiation in the mid.
Yep. Oh, and down in the bottom lane as well, Timbersaw going to get taken out. Fluff and Stuff going to fall in the mid lane. It is going to be a 1-for-1 in the mid, but whoa, it's not over yet. TC going to head for the hills on that Viper. He's trying to run. Havost, well, going to be able to finish him off. Open Wound's going to be used. That'll be the end of the Viper. So a 2-for-2 across the map down in the bottom lane. While that was happening, Timbersaw got caught by the Fiend's Grasp from Bane, and Bane as well as Bulba were able to finish him off. Then all the while in the mid, Viper as well as Visage went down in a 2v1 basically to pick off that Crystal Maiden. So sort of a chaotic exchange and kind of a break even when it's all said and done. 10-4 here now as we pass that 15-minute mark.
Yeah, 2 kills picked up by Havost is what's probably going to give that a little bit of advantage towards Navi, because it was the Crystal Maiden and Havost in the mid lane. So I'm assuming they're going to get a little bit off of that. But just going back to what I was mentioning before all that action broke out, Navi has a very, very strong mid-game team, and I agree with you that if we go late game, I think it does favor Liquid to an extent. I don't think it's a huge difference, because the main reason Alchemist crushes people is because he's 6-slotted when they're not, because of how fast he farms. And Lifestealer actually does reasonably well, because he's relying largely, and especially before those next patch notes come out, he's got all that bonus health from Chemical Rage that gets eaten through, and he has a whole lot of hit points. He's relying largely on his HP, and the damage that's going to come out from Lifestealer is going to be very, very significant against that. So he can actually hold reasonably well against an Alchemist in the late game, even if it's not really super ideal. But the Viper is going to be a big, big difference maker there because of the Viper Strike. And because he can just basically kite out that entire rage on anyone. Anytime it goes off, just Viper Strike him.
Yep,
I think kites away, kill the rest of the team.
I think you're exactly right that slow is going to become the crucial thing, where it's sort of similar to Ursa, where he can do a lot of damage if he can hit you, but a hero very susceptible to kite ability, a similar problem that Lifestealer struggles with. But Lifestealer still doing very well, leading the way on the net worth chart by a large margin, sitting around 9.2k. Viper, number 2 on the chart, is sitting around 7k, so there's a nice disparity in favor of Navi in terms of how well the carries are farming. Now Lifestealer sitting on Phase Boots, Drum of Endurance, Hand of Midas, and has just recently picked up that armlet with another 1,400 gold or so in the bag. Actually 1,500 here as he uses that Hand of Midas once more. Other items that have been picked up: Viper, being played by TC, is now level 13, does have Phase Boots as well as a Shadow Blade, Ring of Aquila, and the Magic Wand. Actually going to have an Ogre Club in the bank as well, so probably going to be working towards a BKB, but does have that bit of a mobility now as he has upgraded that Shadow Amulet into a Shadow Blade. Other big item pickups on our Radiant side as well. I'm going to say it again, please. Koitva. I got to practice that one in front of the mirror a few times. Level 11 Bat Rider now has a Blink Dagger and a Force Staff to go with it. So this is where Bat Rider starts to get quite scary. The initiation and then pulling one way out of position, and also having that level 2 lasso is something to be nervous about indeed. Fluff and Stuff on the Visage, now going to be able to grab his first item, a Medallion of Courage, and Bulba actually going to go for the mech first on that Alchemist, and he has completed it now to go with his Phase Boots bottle and Magic Wand. So that is good news for Liquid kind of all around. Looks like Timbersong going to be working towards his Bloodstone, does have the point booster to go with the Arcane Boots, but the farm disparity is still going to be in favor of Navi here, leading by about just shy of 3,000 gold, 2,800 or so. That's because of the Hand of Midas. It's a differential of 2. Hand of Midas on the Lifestealer and the Invoker, and none for Liquid. So those heavy economic investments allowing Navi to hang on to a gold lead despite being behind by 6 kills, 4-10 here at the 18-minute mark.
Yeah, I do really think, though, that, I mean, Dendi, I think he's probably going for a Yule's build into Exort power, but I think he's having less of an impact in the pre-20-minute window than he really wanted to, because he's got his double Forge Spirits, he's got Cold Snap. You can do a whole ton of damage to that. Those Forge Spirits are incredibly damaging when they're melting your armor at the same time. And then with the Cold Snap as well, of course, people are generally stuck in range of them for a long time. So just with +1, you can just destroy people with double Forge Spirits, and you know that's something he wants to be doing, but he feels like he has to back off and farm because he feels just a little bit behind the Liquid team right here.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely true, and we see now, maybe a Roche Tep going to come out from Navi again to complement those Forged Spirits. They work well for trying to put pressure on Roche. Really, any sort of minions or ability to grab units, but the Forged Spirits work just fine, and they work well against these Visage Familiars too. The Familiar is going to fly in, and they both get taken out before they can go Stone Form. I never really thought about that, but wow, those Forged Spirits just burst down those Visage Familiars so quickly. So Liquid will get a little bit of visual intel here to see that Roche is underway, but they're not going to be able to contest, and this is going to be a free Roche kill for Navi here at the 19.5-minute mark. Aegis of the Immortal going to end up in the inventory of the Invoker, and while all that was happening, Liquid were able to grab that Tier 1 tower in the top lane, so that will level out the tower count a little bit here. It is now 2-2, pardon me. So 2 Tier 1 towers apiece have fallen for both sides, so I guess sort of a break even, but Navi going to use that Aegis to get aggressive here. They are going to smoke up, all 5 of them in the mid lane, and they're going to rotate up top. There are 3 members of Liquid up here right now. The Visage going to be the first to get caught. He's going to get hit by a Deafening Blast. All that burst damage is going to come out. He's going to fall. Timbersaw going to grab that last hit, and the rest of the Liquid forces just going to port the hell out of there, and they will survive. That's going to be a nice 1-for-0 exchange. Now 5-10 here at the 20-minute mark. Navi getting a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, now Havos, not only does he have his armlet and his drum on top, like he has his usual items, but he's gone an ultimate orb. I'm wondering if he's going to go for a Lincoln Sphere because they have both the Bane, the Bat Rider, and the Viper, all three of whom really can mess him up through his rage. They've picked out a whole lot of good anti-lifestealer. I'd really, really expect that he's going to try and dodge at least one of those spells, force them to burn two if they're really good control ultimates on him, maybe dodge the Viper Strike. You know, maybe they initiate with something when they don't realize he has the Lincolns. They're relying on the Viper Strike to kite him out, or the Fiend's Grip or something like that, and they don't have the other abilities available because they've already used them to control other heroes.
Yep. Down in the bottom lane, Dendy going to get caught, the Aegis going to get burned, and that's going to be the easiest Aegis burn I think Liquid will find in this match. Dendy just maybe a pinch too far forward. Easy Bat Rider, Blink, Lasso, Firefly combo, and unfortunately the Invoker not able to survive. But they do not grab the follow-up kills. He comes back to life, so that little bit of Roshan advantage they had, a nice gold pick-me-up perhaps, but the Aegis advantage now gone, and they do grab a deny on that tier 1 tower. Total tower count now 3-2, and actually Liquid leading the way. They have the only tier 1 tower remaining, and that is their tier 1 in the mid lane, down to about 500 hit points left. So those initial towers are starting to fall as, Timbersaw may find himself in a little bit of a sticky wicket up here in the top lane. Whoa, he's going to try and Timber Chain, going to get caught by the Fiend's Grasp. Dendy going to come in with a, the global Sunstrike, that's what it's called. There it is. Timbersaw going to get crowd control down. Bulba going to come in, and Unstable Concoction going to be enough to finish him off. So the Sunstrike, a noble effort to get some damage there on Bane, but unfortunately the Brain Sap afterwards sort of mitigating that bit of damage. So again, now Liquid getting a bit more aggressive as well. Going to be 11-5 here at the 21-minute mark. Navi, though, they're going to make their way up to the top lane. Deafening Blast going to be used on the Bane. The Astral Spirit going to chase him down. He's going to try and pour it out, but he will get stunned. I think that was a cold snap coming out of Dendy. Indeed it was. So that is going to make it a 1-for-1. Timbersaw for Bane here in the top lane, as we're now at the 22-minute mark.
Yeah, and this, I mean, Navi needs to be getting these pickoffs. It's unfortunate that they had to trade the Timbersaw for it, but the fact that they rotated and got the Bane, of course, made it a little bit better. They're getting the kills on Havos. He's getting closer and closer to the items he needs. Looks like, yeah, his Lincoln's Recipe and his Ring of Health are on the courier. He's about 100 gold away from his Lincoln Sphere, and now that's going to be done with that last Midas usage. So we'll have to see. I mean, we'll have to see if that pays off for him, because yeah, it's going to remove one of those really good crowd control abilities, but if they manage to pop it before he rages, if they manage to, if they think about it and just hold one extra ability for him, they may have been checking his inventory, they may know that he's going for that Lincoln's, they know they have to be watching for it, and if they don't notice it, it'll be really, really super good for one fight, and then still good in later fights, but they do have several good ways to burn through it.
Right, and that was one thing I was just going to comment on. It's pretty easy to coordinate breaking a Lincoln's here at this level of play. So I'm on the same page, buddy. I mean, he is level 16 now. I mean, Havost is reasonably tanky, 1,800 hit points again. Now on Armlet, Lincoln Sphere, Drum of Endurance, Phase Boots, and the Hand of Midas. But I'm curious if that could be one of these items that's just a little bit too defensive. Because I don't know, it's a little bit of a gamble in my opinion.
I do think he kind of needs it. I think otherwise they have too much to deal with him. I'm just saying they still have a lot. But yeah. I think without it, he'd just get controlled out of the game in the mid-game, which is where they have to win this, and he'd be in real trouble. The fact that he managed to get it at the 23-minute mark on top of his drums and his armlet means he's still putting out a good amount of damage. He's got his level 4 Feast. You do get a little bit of damage. You get 25 total from the Lincoln Sphere, from the 15 all-ats, and from the 10 raw damage that it gives from the Perseverance.
Yeah.
So it's not... for the gold, it's not good damage at all, but he definitely needed it. And we'll have to see if it's enough just with only one of those 3 spells blocked.
Yep. And some other big items have been picked up. Viper now has been able to grab his BKB to go with his Shadow Blade and Phase Boot, so that is great news for TC there on the side of Team Liquid. And, the other big item I wanted to mention was Funnick over here on the Timbersaw. He's now been able to complete that Bloodstone, doing that classic Timbersaw build, Arcane Boots first, break the boots to finish off the Bloodstone, and now he's just on Boots of Speed, Bloodstone, Bottle, and Magic Wand. So he is a bit more tanky now, does have that bit of extra sustainability, if you will, still sitting on 8 charges. I think he's yet to have any engaged since he picked it up. So we'll see where he goes from here. I'll be curious to see where Havos goes from here. I have to imagine it's going to be the Basher into an Abyssal Blade. That seems to be the pretty common build, but we'll see where he wants to transition into. And any other large item pickups? Well, I guess Bulba's made one here. He now has a Shadow Blade on the Alchemist, also level 13. He is going to take out a double stacked or maybe a triple stacked Ancients here. And again, the Shadow Blade to go with his Mech, Phase Boots, Bottle, and Magic Wand. Some of those relics from the early game. And Dendy now has really grabbed his first core item, which is that Force Staff there to go after the Hand of Midas. And I imagine that point booster he's got will probably turn into an Oggs.
Yeah, Ags just increases Invoker's teamfight potential by an insane amount. Not only reducing the mana consumption that you're spamming through, but giving you that incredibly fast spell switch. at higher levels. It goes down to 2 seconds at max level with an Aghanim, so he can actually cycle through all of his spells. That's one of the things, because he's got the Midas, he's getting a few extra levels, all of his spells are that much more effective, even though I'm sure he's not as high up as he wanted to be. I think he probably wanted to go a Yule's build, but felt like there's too much kind of group roaming going on for him to get Yule's pickups, and bottom lane.
Yep, not going to be good for Funnick here. We'll see Batrider blink forward, going to be able to use that Force Staff combo to pull him back with the lasso, and that's going to be an easy kill. Unfortunately, that Timber Chain not going to connect, and Visage actually going to be able to be the one to grab that last hit, but that's going to be another free kill here coming out for Liquid. Well, 4 members of Liquid. Viper, the only one not with them quite yet, going to press forward and start to chip away at this Tier 2 tower down here in the bottom lane. Luckily for Timbersaw, he at least had a few charges on that Bloodstone, so he is actually back up already, down for a total of about 15 seconds or so, and now Navi may choose to get a bit aggressive here. Dendi did port in and did a little bit of damage to the Bane, but all of the members of Liquid do make it out safe and sound, and that will be the end of the engage. So all in all, just a free kill on that Timbersaw, which is absolutely great news. That's going to take him now down to 5 charges on that Bloodstone, which is actually kind of big. If you can kill someone before they get any kills on that Bloodstone, it can help sort of skew that that snowball potential, where we see sometimes a Bloodstone picked up and a few kills happen right away, and sort of the inverse effect happens here. But we may see a little bit of action coming in the Radiant jungle. We are going to see Visage under hot pursuit from Havost, but the Visage familiar is going to go stone form, and that will buy him some time. But Havost just going to hang around. He is going to be able to finish off both of them. That's going to be a free 200 gold for the Lifestealer, so I think all in all, he's not too upset with that exchange there. Lets the Visage get away, but if he can get both familiar kills, hey, he's not going to complain with 200 free gold.
Absolutely not. I really thought that Liquid could have turned that around. I think they thought that Navi had more heroes in place than they actually did, but Havost was way out in front of his team, along with Dendi. I mean, the rest of Navi didn't rotate in for at least another 5 or 10 seconds. They could have gotten a very quick pick-off on Havost, and that would have stopped this push, would have really pressured Navi further out of the mid-game, when it looks like they're really starting to kind of get that edge. And you were right, my friend. Picks up the Basher, does Havost. So he is going to have a little more damage. He's got obviously that lockdown with the Rage. You're almost guaranteed to get at least one Bash off during the Rage. It's reasonably unlikely that you won't.
Yeah, that's a great point. And here down in this bottom lane at the Tier 2 tower, all 5 members of both sides sort of going head-to-head, both sides being very cautious to engage each other. This is sort of that time here at the 27-minute mark where both sides have a lot of damage that they can put out, and that initiation is going to be so important. Navi will back out here, and Liquid's still in hot pursuit.
In trouble.
And yeah, Kuroki may be in trouble here. He is going to get scouted. Batrider going to see him. Does have a lasso available. The Astral Spirit will interrupt that Blink Dagger cooldown, but he is going to be able to Force Staff forward, still going to be able to lasso Kuroki into the Firefly. But an unstable concoction going to come. The Flame Break to follow up. That's going to be a kill. Viper going to be able to grab that last hit onto the Elder Titan, and that'll be a 1-for-0, but it's not over yet. Now Navi want to get a bit aggressive here. Viper going to be the targeted choice from Havost. BKB going to get popped right away. Now Havost going to be focused down. He's going to take a bit of damage. Going to be able to use Infest inside the Timbersaw. And the Bane, very nicely done. Going to be able to Nightmare himself to buy himself some time. Puppy going to be the next to fall here, and now they're going to be able to finish off the Bane. That's going to be a 2-for-2. Not over yet. Visage now going to fall. Havost taking a lot of damage. He's trying to go toe-to-toe with the Viper. He's going to be able to do it for now. The Viper, is he going to be able to live? He will. TC going to make it back, at least for now. He's going to go invisible with a few hit points to spare, and it will be a 3-for-3 when it's all said and done here. But no, beautifully done by Dendi. Going to be able to get that Sunstrike to finish off the Viper, and that will make it a 3-for-4. Well played by Navi, and now the Batrider could get pursued. He's out of mana, but looks like Funnick not going to want to try and finish him off. So a nice fight for Navi. They do come out ahead just barely in the end, but well, sort of a sloppy exchange from both sides as, well, just a massacre, really.
Yeah, and thank goodness for that gem that Puppy picked up for Dendi. It gave them enough sight on the Viper to know which direction he was going, which gave Dendi the knowledge he needed to land that Sunstrike and let him get that pick off. Otherwise, it would have been that 3-for-3. It looks like Kuroki getting lassoed up again, but this time it's just Koikfa. Koikfa may not be in the best position right here.
Yeah, he needs to be a little bit careful. Puppy going to find his way in. They're going to try to make the initiation happen. Whoa, look at that Force Staff going to mitigate the damage from the Sunstrike just in the nick of time. Earth Splitter actually going to be used here, but not going to connect with the Batrider. A very close call, but both sides do walk away without conceding a death, so I suppose nicely played. On both sides of the coin, it was a noble effort from Navi. Yeah, we don't always think about the Crystal Maiden Invoker combo, but when you connect with that Frostbite, if they don't have a Force Staff, it's pretty much a guaranteed Sunstrike. And if Batrider didn't have the Force Staff right there, I think that would have been a guaranteed kill in favor of Navi.
Absolutely, especially with the ultimates that were popped off by the Crystal Maiden and the Elder Titan. And those are the reasons I actually think that's a little bit advantageous for for Liquid right there, because now they know the Crystal Maiden and the Titan ultimates are down for about another minute on the Titan and then another minute and a half on the Crystal Maiden, which makes this Rosh that Navi is looking for a lot more dangerous, because those are two incredibly powerful ultimates in the Rosh pit.
Yep, absolutely right, and Liquid know about it. All 5 of them stationed on their side of the river, on the Radiant side, but they are ready to hop into this Rosh pit. And right now, Navi sort of stationed outside of the pit as well. They do have a Vost inside, was chipping away at Roshan, and they are going to back out. They're going to try to take the high ground near the Dire Ancients here. All 5 of them are ready to fight. Chaos could ensue, but again, as you mentioned, Navi don't have the cooldowns. Another 24 seconds on that Earth Splitter on the level 11 Elder Titan, so they need to be a little bit cautious here, not to overcommit. Also 35 seconds on the Crystal Maiden ulti, who is also level 11 as well, so those 2 ultimates at level 2 are quite large. But Navi going to go ahead and use a smoke right here on 4 of their members. Timbersaw actually does have an invisibility rune on. He's going to come around the bottom side. They're going to find themselves a Batrider. Batrider going to be able to survive. He did pick up a BKB in the interim after that last fight, and that does keep him alive here, but they are going to be able to grab the Viper. That's how this fight's going to start. Couldn't be much better than this for Navi. Viper right now not going to have a buyback, so this is going to be a little bit rough. I think Navi going to be able to take this fight. They're going to press forward. Down goes Visage. That's going to be a 2-for-0, and now they're going to head into that Rosh pit. There's not going to be much that Liquid can do about it, and, well, very nicely done. That smoke at the high ground gave them the edge they needed to find that initiation, and although they didn't kill the Batrider, preventing him from getting the jump on one of their members and using that lasso, we see Batrider at level 15 here still has the lasso off cooldown. That was what won them the fight. Preventing Batrider from catching one off guard was absolutely how they set up those 2 kills. And, well, doesn't get much better than that from Navi. Now 12-15 here at the 31-minute mark as we move into another pause.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. There were basically, I think, 2 major things that happened that won Navi that fight. And the first one was exactly what you just said. The fact that the Batrider couldn't get any initiation off. He couldn't disable one, and there was no pickoff. That's, of course, the big advantage of a Batrider is being able to get that pickoff. The other one is that since Liquid was in such disarray, the Viper Strike got burned on the Rage Havost, which burned his Linken's, and there was no follow-up because the Batrider was out of range, and the Bane just wasn't prepped and wasn't in position for it. So Havost then ended up running around, killing the Viper, and at that point, with the Viper dead, they don't want to fight anyway.
Yep. So
it just ended up being very, very advantageous for Navi that those ultimates didn't go off in proper sequence, didn't manage to shut down Havost's Rage, and right there, man, I said that Linken Sphere was necessary, and we'd have to see what they managed to get with it. Right there, that was a big, big fight for that Linken Sphere.
Yep. Good thing to point out indeed. So with that, we will resume here at the 32-minute mark. Roshan does fall, and Navi, of course, going to be able to grab that Aegis. It will end up in the inventory of Dendi, who now also has the Og Scepter to go with his Force Staff and Hand of Midas, and he is going to be able to grab a Blink Dagger here with some of that pick-me-up gold as he does finish off the Dire Ancients as well. Havost now continuing to get scary. He's got the same items we spoke of before, the Armlet, Basher, Linkens, and the Drum of Endurance to go with the Midas and Phase Boots, but about 3.3k gold in the bank, so I have to imagine his next choice is indeed going to be that Abyssal Blade. And on the net worth chart, this is where I was a little bit nervous for Liquid, where, yeah, they might have a bit of a carry advantage, but right now, Havost is at 19k on the net worth chart. Number 2 is Viper at about 12k, so there's just a huge disparity where this Lifestealer, who's also level 20, the highest level in the game by 2, Viper only level 18, and he is the second highest on the chart. The Lifestealer is just a scary force. If he can get those right clicks off, he is just absolutely terrifying. And again, to complement that last fight, if they can lock down the Viper and prevent that kiting mechanism that we've been so adamant about projecting here to the viewers, that's their bread and butter. If Navi can do that again, they should be able to take these next team fights without too much trouble. And there it is, the Abyssal Blade, going to end up in his inventory as we speak.
That is a very, very damaging Lifestealer, and reasonably tanky as well. With Armlet running, he has 2,800 life. So with all the leech he's going to be getting off, with the regen he's got, and the armor he's got, he's actually at 16 armor between all of his items. He's going to be really, really hard for Liquid to bring down unless they can actually chain off those abilities. But then it means, again, they're burning so many abilities on the Lifestealer that someone like the Invoker just has free reign to just dominate a fight. And when he gets all of his spells off, he has his Aghanims, he has level 4 Invoke, he's got maxed out Exhort, which means all of his damaging spells, like most of his highest damage spells are Exhort based. That's pretty much the damage the damage reagent. So he's going to be putting out a crap ton from that Meteor, from that Sunstrike. Even, the Forge Spirits are hitting for 83 damage apiece right now.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. You can't, as you mentioned earlier on, much to your credit, Invoker can transition into a sort of a hard carry into that later game if farm pursues and or ensues, I guess I should say. And it seems that Dendi has indeed been pursuing said farm. Looking at the gold graph here, Navi again still trailing by 3 kills, but they've got a nice lead set up for themselves. That Midas disparity really coming into effect, as well as those 2 Roshan kills, leading by about 12,000 gold here, somewhere about 11,000 experience at the 34-minute mark. So Navi are sort of comfortably in the lead at the moment, and they're going to have this opportunity just to sort of sit back, farm up those next round of core items before they force the next team fight. They really have the luxury of time right now, at least for a little while, before the carries on their opposition start to get out of control. But it looks like Liquid may indeed be the aggressors here. They do have 4 members up in the top lane. Viper, the only one not with them. They are going to start to pressure this tier 2 tower up in the top, and right now Puppey is the lone defender, but it looks like his presence may be enough to scare back the forces of Liquid. We see Batrider hiding in the trees here, hoping that someone may walk by for him to prey on, but alas, I don't think he is going to have that opportunity. A gem has now been picked up by Batrider as well, something important to note to go with his BKB, as well as the Boots of Travel. Other big item pickups here. Timbersaw now has a pipe to go with his Bloodstone, so he's getting more tanky himself. Also does have a gem, so a gem on both sides to get that bit of map control here. And with that, we see some wards cleared out, but the pipe, a great item pickup here, and I think it will help the teamfight presence of Navi, no doubt. It's sort of a no-brainer. After I said it, I felt a little silly. Of course, the pipe's going to help the teamfight presence. That's what pipe does. But, we could see some initiation up here in the top. Timbersaw, get a Timber Chain forward. He wants to initiate on the Bane. He's going to get put in a Nightmare. Still the Batrider on the other side of the trees, perhaps thinking about hopping over the tree line, but I think he's not going to do that because it would probably be to his certain demise. And look at this. Also, the Visage up here in the top lane, hiding in the trees. So Liquid in sort of an odd position right now where they're not really farming much and just looking for an opportunity to find a keen initiation.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what they need. They've lost the last couple of team fights, and unless they can create a lot of space for that Alchemist to kind of fall back and farm, which, by the way, I think it's a real mistake that they didn't utilize the pressure from the Viper a lot earlier instead of trying to overfarm him and just kind of let the Alchemist fall back and farm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Alchemist is getting a little bit more scary. He did go for that mech first. I see some folks in chat talking about that here. And he had that Shadowblade second. He's now picked up the BKB. So Alchemist also being level 17 is at least starting to get a little bit more scary. He's not that tremendous hard carry, but, well, he's at least has some survivability. Now actually 3 BKBs out on the side of Liquid. 1 for Viper, 1 on Batrider, and of course 1 on the Alchemist. So as we sort of mentioned with Crystal Maiden, she really starts to fall off as an aggressive support once the BKBs come out sort of inevitably in a match, and this is right around that time where Puppey's main prowess in these teamfights is going to be just to live more so than put out a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, he can still do a whole lot of work on supports if he really wants to. He can wait for BKBs to expire, but the Alchemist is fresh. It's a good 10 seconds. The Viper still has an 8-second BKB. He's not going to be doing a whole lot. Later in the game, when they're a lot shorter and they're using them mostly to focus down carries, if it goes that late, then he's going to be able to still put out a lot of damage. His ultimate, of course, does an insane amount of damage, especially coming up with that Natural Order aura.
Yeah.
But oh, and Puppey might be in trouble right here. I think he's going to go down.
Speaking of the devil, Puppey does have a Ghost Scepter, so he was able to buy himself a little bit of time, but wasn't enough to stay alive. There will be support, though. Dendi as well as Havos going to come in. They are going to try to engage on the Viper. Viper going to burn a BKB as well as use the Shadow Blade to try and micro into the trees. He does have a TP scroll, so he is going to be able to pour it out. So unfortunately, Navi not going to be able to grab the counter kill they were looking for, though we may see Batrider possibly in a little bit of trouble. He does have the Blink available, so I don't think Havos is going to be able to grab the initiation that he's looking for, but nope, not going to be able to grab it. Perhaps looking for an open wounds to use right there, but not going to be in range. Batrider kind of playing with fire, quite literally right there, but alas, does make it out. One of the scariest things in this match right now, though, on that KDA chart is that Viper. He is 9-3-2 right now, so although on the net worth chart, still actually now number 3 is Timbersaw's taken that second spot, and Havos still leading the way at about 22k. That Viper is a force that is going to be continued to be reckoned with, and as that farm continues to ensue, he's going to be more and more scary. Now has the Ogs to go with the BKB and Shadow Blade as well as the Phase Boots. So slowly but surely Viper is becoming a scary force. Up here in the top lane though, Alchemist going to get engaged on. He is going to burn a BKB charge as he does get disabled by Dendi and is just going to pour it out right away. But not going to be enough to save the Bane, who does get left behind. Invoker going to be able to grab that last hit. So Navi going to be able to grab themselves a free kill there in the top lane, and they also burn a BKB charge onto the Alchemist, which is a small victory, but that is going to go from 10 seconds down to 9 seconds.
Well, and because it's such a long cooldown right now, they can take that top tower for free, and you can see them just rotating to do that. They know that without the BKB on the Alchemist, there's nothing that Liquid is going to want to do, especially with the Bane down and them not having quite as good of an ability to lock down that Lifestealer. The top tower is free for Navi right now.
Yep, exactly right. And speaking of total tower count, once this top tier 2 falls, that will be a 5-3 difference in tower exchanges. Yep, that's right. Navi has lost all 3 of their tier 1 towers, and they now only have 1 tier 2 remaining to take out, and that is indeed the tier 2 in the bottom lane. So a nice tower advantage going in favor of Navi, and third Rosh is going to be up reasonably soon here, just about 2 minutes or so, and the Cheese Rosh will be coming up, and of course that will be a focal point of this match. But whoa, down in the bottom lane here, the Dendi Havost combo going to initiate onto the Viper. Viper taking a lot of damage here as Havost presses forward. There it is, that Lincoln Sphere going to allow him to secure that kill, and down he goes. Viper going to be the first to fall in this fight, and this is bad news bears for Liquid right here. They're going to try to initiate onto the Visage, and whoa, Visage actually does port out, and I think he dies in the well. Indeed he did, so a very close port right there, but Dendi with just enough damage to finish him off. Was that a Sunstrike into the well?
It was a really, really clutch Sunstrike into the well.
God.
He predicted where he was porting and caught him.
That was insane.
Because if you port to the well, you go to about the same spot. You don't get to basically pick where you're going around the well as often. But so he's just like, all right, I got this. Because what he probably did was double tapped his TP scroll, which auto-targets it. And so Dendi's like, all right, he's going to be right here, and dropped his Sunstrike as he was porting out and picked him off.
That was
really, really fantastic play.
That's like one of those plays that you sort of like, the camera cannot comprehend how intense that was. And up in the top lane here, Timbersaw going to get taken out, it looks like. And oh no, he does survive with about 40 hit points to spare, and he is able to commit suicide with the Bloodstone. So the pipe right there actually mitigating enough damage that he does manage to suicide himself. And a nice little deny, though unfortunately Timbersaw was just a bit too far forward. But yeah, just to go back to that play, absolutely clutch. The Visage managed to port out with a few hit points to spare. Dendi timing the Sunstrike perfectly into the well. I missed it on camera, but just, the level of clutch there on Dendi's Invoker is just unmatched. But we may see some initiation down here in the bottom lane. Indeed we will. The tier 2 tower does fall. Lasso going to be used onto Havost. Not much follow-up damage going to come. There's the Unstable Concoction, and that's going to be the crowd control they need. Down goes the Lifestealer. Havost's going to buy back, and he wants to get back into this fight. We will see the Crystal Maiden try to port out, but Puppey going to get put into the Nightmare. Now Puppey going to fall. May have been a wasted buyback from Havost here, as I don't think he's going to be able to get back into the fight and do anything too meaningful, as he is just sort of running towards the mid lane. So we'll see what Navi want to do here. Rosh is coming up in about 15 seconds. So
Roshan.
Yeah, perhaps
that's what that buyback's for, is to defend Roshan.
Absolutely right. So, but Liquid going to get the better of that exchange. They do pick off the Crystal Maiden as well as the dreaded Lifestealer.
Yeah, I mean, getting the Lifestealer, forcing a buyback, making sure he's not getting any more items, it's a big deal. He's working towards his Assault Cuirass, and if he hadn't had to buy back, he would have been able to just buy it. You see him at 2,800 gold right now. He needs 3,250 to get both armors in the recipe. I've had that number pop up at me a lot of times in recent matches, so I've kind of committed it to memory. So he's, 400 gold off of that, which is going to be a big, big deal once they get their hands on it. Obviously, Tower's going to melt. All the extra armor going around to his team, and all the extra minus armor to deal with any bonus armor that Liquid might be accruing, because you already have, of course, the Elder Titan aura to deal with all of their base armor, but all of their bonus armor now going to go the way of the dinosaur as well. So that's a really, really potent combination.
Yeah, I definitely contend with that, my friend. And also, Shiva's Guard has now been picked up onto the Timbersaw there to go with his pipe and the Bloodstone. So just an all-around super tanky force on that Timbersaw. And I really like these item choices. Sort of a semi-team support with the pipe, but also some great survivability, and gives Timbersaw all of that initiation power that he needs. Third Rosh is going to respawn and going to fall very quickly here to the hands of Navi. And the Aegis going to go the way of the Lifestealer, going to end up in the hands of Havost. And it looks like, who's going to grab the cheese? I thought it was going to be Dendi, but no, alas, it is going to be the Elder Titan being played by Kuroki, of course, now with cheese to go with that mech urn, and the power treads. So 3 Rosh kills, all 3 going the way of Navi. And glancing at that gold graph now, upwards of about 17,000 gold or so, about 12,000 experience. So still Navi in great shape in terms of their gold lead here, and we'll see what they want to do. This could be their golden ticket to get a bit more aggressive here. Liquid are pressuring that tier 1 tower, or tier 2 tower in the top lane, pardon me, going to be their first tier tier 2 tower kill of the match. The rest of Navi, though, they're pressed up in the mid lane. The only one not with them is that Timbersaw, but of course he does have the boots of travel, so he's going to be able to make it to the fight. And this tier 3 tower in the mid falling very quickly, but Havos going to be the target of choice. The Bat Rider going to be able to get that easy initiation, going to be able to blink forward, lasso, force staff, and that's going to be the end of him. Of course, he does have the Aegis, so going to pop right back up in sort of an awkward spot here. That Lincoln's going to help keep him alive, is going to get the pipe put on, also going to be able to use that rage to walk out, and he is going to survive. And that will be the end of the tier 3 tower in the mid lane here, but the racks do still remain intact. 15-19 here at the 44-minute mark. Navi knocking on the front door of Liquid, and I don't know how much they want to commit here. They are going to stick around again. Havos needs to be a little bit careful, but now that they know the Bat Rider ulti is down for at least another 15 seconds, they have this opportunity to push in. They pressure the melee racks hard. Glyph forced to be used, and now it's going to be exposed. I think Liquid will indeed lose mid racks here. They're going to hop forward. Both Dendi as well as Funnick going to be able to finish off the Bane. Bat Rider now going to fall as well. Bat Rider going to buy back right away. Bane the only one dead. It is a 5v4 on the field. Melee racks are still up as Navi have now shifted their focus onto the heroes. Viper taking a ton of damage. Looks like he's going to fall. There is going to be a lasso used by Bat Rider. The follow-up not going to be there. Things looking very grim for Liquid. Viper going to use the buyback. It's now a 5v2 on the field. Still Liquid unable to pick up any kills except for that first kill onto the Aegis. Now Dendi going to fall as the rest of Navi push back the Viper as well as the Alchemist into the well. Looks like the melee racks in the mid finally going to fall. Range racks going to fall shortly after. So Navi just taking a fabulous team fight here. They just have so much more sustain. All tied up 20-20 in hero kills here at the 45-minute mark, but I think Navi are moments from delivering their crippling blow. Now leading by 20,000 gold, 15,000 experience. They're going to just move down to this bottom lane. No glyph available, and I think the bottom lane of racks are now destined to fall as that tier 3 tower does go down.
The amount of item trading that happened between Navi during that fight, as soon as Havos got back up, he backed out, picked up the cheese off of that Timbersaw, and then proceeded to use it again in the fight. And then after he used the cheese, so he had a slot, he picked up the gem so he could kill all the invisible heroes.
The item micro, uncanny right there. I see chat commenting on the clutchness of Navi's plays there. And alas, the bottom lane of racks do fall. Viper gets taken out again as he does get initiated on. And Navi just in great form right here. Going to be able to now grab a kill on the Alchemist as they hop forward, overcommitting to try and finish off the lone Crystal Maiden. But alas, Puppey does survive. That Ghost Scepter coming in handy right there. And there it is. That's the GG sign from Team Liquid, 23-20 after 40 minutes of game, or 46 minutes of gameplay. Navi going to take match number 1. If I'm not mistaken, this is a best of 2 format, so we have one more match coming up here between. Is this a best of 2 or a best of 3? I actually didn't see it in the brackets. I think we have.
Man,
at least
I rely
one more
on
match
you for
coming
that
up.
stuff. I just talk about drafts and mechanics. That's your job.
It's all right. It's a best of 3.
A lot of leagues are best of 2. What is it?
I see folks in chat. It's a best of 3. So we are going to have at least one more match coming up here.
Cool.
As Navi going to take the first match of this BO3 series. Looks like we are going to watch the throne fall, but wow, what a match to start off our day of casting here with the return of Dota Radio.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't pick much higher tier teams than Navi against Liquid. I mean, Liquid may not be the TI3 champs of Alliance. Obviously, Navi Alliance would have been kind of the biggest possible match you could start this off with, but these are definitely 2 top tier teams. Both playing, you know, some unusual heroes in this game. Viper sees a little bit of play, but not a whole lot. We got to see an Invoker, who is my favorite hero ever, and I'm so happy he made it through and actually got picked up for once, because he's just been so out of the loop since his last set of nerfs.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see where they go next. I think we might see more. I mean, maybe we'll see a little more standard sort of carry positioning from Liquid, but you never know. Maybe they want to keep trying to do something odd.